If you ever take a late-night bus, make sure to count the passengers. If you see someone who wasn't there when you boarded, don't look at them, don't acknowledge them, just pray they don't notice you. My name is Alex, and I took the last bus home last night. I wish I had walked instead. It was late, nearly midnight. The streets were empty, neon signs flickering against closed shop windows. I was exhausted, too tired to think straight. The bus stop was deserted except for a single buzzing street lamp. The bus groaned to a stop. A long mechanical sigh escaped as the doors shuttered open. I stepped inside. The dim interior lights flickered as I moved, stretching shadows unnaturally long. I swiped my card. The beeping sound echoed too loudly in the quiet bus. As I walked toward my usual seat near the back, I glanced at the other passengers. A businessman hunched over his laptop, the blue glow casting sharp angles on his face. An old woman clutched a crinkled plastic grocery bag, her knuckles white. A young couple whispered to each other, their words too soft to catch, but filled with urgency. The driver, a burly man with deep-set, tired eyes, barely looked at me before yanking the lever to seal us inside. The doors clamped shut with a finality that made my stomach tighten. The bus rumbled forward, headlights cutting through the empty road. The silence inside was thick, unnatural, the kind that makes your skin prickle, though you don't know why. I put in my headphones, stared out the window, watching the city blur past, and that's when I noticed something was wrong. At the next stop, the doors hissed open. No one got on. At least, that's what I thought. The driver didn't react. He didn't glance at the mirror like he usually did, but when I turned my head slightly, I saw something that made my stomach drop. A man was sitting 2 rows ahead of me. He wasn't there before. I was sure of it. His back was to me, but something about him felt wrong, too stiff, too rigid. He didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even breathe from what I could tell. He just sat there. I glanced at the other passengers. No one seemed to notice him. The businessman kept typing. The old woman clutched her bag. The couple whispered. Even the driver acted like everything was normal. But I knew. He wasn't there before. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe he had been sitting there the whole time, and I hadn't noticed. But then, he moved, not in a normal way, not like someone adjusting their seat or stretching their arms. No, it was more like a twitch, a single jerky motion, as if his entire body had just reset. And then, he turned his head, just slightly, just enough for me to see the side of his face. He had no mouth. I froze. My body locked up. My brain screamed at me to look away, to pretend I hadn't seen, but I couldn't. The air around me felt thick, heavy, like something was pressing against my chest, keeping me still. His head twitched again, and then, so slowly, so painfully slow, he started turning, all the way toward me. A sudden voice shattered the silence.
Don't look at him.
It was the old woman. She didn't turn to me. She didn't whisper, she just said it, loud enough for me to hear, but quiet enough not to disturb the others.
Face forward, look out the window, don't react, don't move.
I obeyed. I forced my gaze away, stared at my reflection in the dark glass. My hands clenched the edge of my seat. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. Minutes passed. The bus rumbled on. I could feel him watching me, even though I didn't dare check. And then, the bus stopped. The doors hissed open, the lights flickered. No one moved, no one got off, and yet, I could feel something leaving. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight lifted from my chest. I risked a glance forward. The man was gone. The old woman finally turned to me. Her eyes were sunken, tired.
You never saw him. You understand?
I nodded. I understood. I got off at my stop, stumbling onto the pavement like a drowning man gasping for air. The bus rumbled away, its red taillights disappearing into the darkness. I told myself it was over, that it was just my imagination, that I had been tired, delirious, seeing things that weren't there. But then, I saw it. A bus, parked across the street, empty, engine off, and sitting inside. Staring at me through the glass was the man, and this time, he was smiling. If you ever take the late-night bus, don't count the passengers. And whatever you do, don't look at the ones who weren't there when you got on.